You know that feeling, right? That deep, bone-weary exhaustion after a really long, stressful week? Well, what if I told you that feeling isn't just in your head? It's a real, physical toll, and your body is meticulously keeping score. I'm talking about that feeling of just running on empty, where the constant pressure feels like it's literally weighing you down. And you know what? That's not just mental fatigue. It's a real physiological response to a demand that just won't let up. Your body is working serious overtime, and it's starting to show.
Yep, every single deadline, every little worry, every sleepless night, it all adds up. Your body is carefully logging the cost of all that stress, and today, we're going to take a look at the receipt.
So this cumulative burden actually has a scientific name, allostatic load. Now, I know it might sound a little complex, but it's basically a way to quantify the wear and tear on your body from constantly having to adapt to stress. But to really get what the load is, we first have to understand the adaptation process itself. Okay, so let's start with allostasis. Think of it as your body's brilliant, built-in ability to adapt on the fly. When you're faced with a challenge, your body adjusts things like heart rate, hormones, and metabolism to maintain stability, what's known as homeostasis. It is absolutely essential for survival. It's a good thing.
But what happens when those challenges become chronic, when you're constantly adapting? Well, that process creates wear and tear. And that is allostatic load. It's the price your body pays for being stuck in a constant state of high alert. So here's the key. Adaptation is good, but chronic, relentless adaptation is costly.
So to manage all this, your body has these incredibly sophisticated systems. Let's meet the two main players that are responsible for your entire stress response.
So, you've got this two-speed system. There's an immediate, rapid-fire response for acute threats, like jumping out of the way of a car. And then there's a second, slower system that's really designed for more sustained challenges. It's like a beautifully designed tag team. First up, you've got the fast-acting autonomic nervous system. On one side, you have the sympathetic system. That's your classic fight-or-flight response. It's the gas pedal. It instantly cranks up your heart rate and gets you ready for action. And on the other side, you have the parasympathetic system, the rest and digest response. This is the brake. It's the calming system that brings you back down. In a healthy body, you're just seamlessly switching between the two. Okay, so that's the immediate response. But what happens when the stress isn't just a single event, but this constant, nagging presence? For those chronic stressors, the body activates a slower, more enduring response system. This is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or just the HPA axis for short. It's this amazing hormonal cascade that kicks off in the brain. The hypothalamus releases a hormone called CRH, which sends a signal to the pituitary gland. That gland then releases another hormone, ACTH. ACTH then travels all the way down to your adrenal glands and tells them to release the famous stress hormone, cortisol. The whole thing is a brilliant system for managing energy and inflammation during those long periods of stress. So we know stress causes this wear and tear. But how do we actually turn that kind of abstract idea into a concrete number? How do we quantify the load? And that's a great question, because this is what moves stress from being just a feeling to a physiological reality that we can actually track and measure. The answer is biomarkers. Scientists measure a whole panel of them. Allostatic load isn't just a single number. It's a composite score that's created by integrating multiple different indicators of your body's health. Now, what's really fascinating here is how these different markers tell a story. You have what are called primary mediators, like cortisol and epinephrine. These are the stress hormones themselves. But then you have the secondary outcomes, like blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar. These show the long-term effects of all that hormonal activity on your body's systems. And this is a great way to see that these biomarkers aren't random at all. They fall neatly into 4 key systems that stress hits the hardest. The neuroendocrine system that actually produces the hormones, the cardiovascular system, the metabolic system, and the inflammatory system. It's basically a full-body inventory of stress. So, a high allostatic load score, it's not just a number on a chart. It has very real, very tangible consequences, especially for 2 of our most critical organs, the brain and the heart. Let's start with the brain. Chronic stress doesn't just cloud your thinking, it can literally, physically change the brain's structure. It's a process called stress-induced structural remodeling. A high allostatic load is linked to physical changes in key brain areas. And we're talking about the big ones: the prefrontal cortex, which handles your ability to plan and make decisions; the hippocampus, which is crucial for forming new memories; and the amygdala, your emotional control center. The very architecture of your brain can start to change in response to chronic stress, and that's going to impact how you think, how you feel, and how you remember.
Okay, now let's turn to the heart. Your cardiovascular system is right there on the front lines of the stress response, and, well, it takes a heavy beating over time.
When your body is constantly stuck in fight or flight mode, your heart rate and your blood pressure stay elevated. Over time, that constant pressure damages your arteries, which can lead to plaque buildup, a direct risk factor for heart disease and stroke. And in some extreme cases, a sudden, intense stress event can even trigger what's known as broken heart syndrome, which is a temporary but really serious weakening of the heart muscle.
This all leads to probably the most important question for all of us. How do you know when normal, everyday stress crosses the line and becomes a serious physiological problem?
This is really the key takeaway here. It's all about learning to listen to your body and recognizing when it's telling you that the load is just getting too high.
So how do you recognize this in your own life? Well, you can start by paying attention to the smaller, more persistent stuff. Things like having trouble sleeping all the time, frequent headaches, digestive problems, or maybe you notice you're getting sick way more often than you used to. Those can be early warning signs. But then there are the major red flags that you should absolutely never ignore. Things like chest pain, shortness of breath, or a deep, progressive fatigue that just never seems to lift. This is exactly why routine checks of your blood pressure and cholesterol are so crucial. They're direct measures of your allostatic load. Think of them as your body's actual scorecard.
So what we've learned today is that stress is not just in your head. It's a powerful physical force with real, measurable consequences for your brain and your heart. Your body is constantly adapting, constantly keeping that score. So the final question, really, is a personal one for you. Now that you know the score is being kept, how are you going to change the game?